Hello guys, good to see you again in our channel. So today we are going to talk about interview questions related to Azure Data Factory, do's and don'ts in your interviews, and the scenario based questions. So if you are looking forward to go for any of the interviews, make sure that you watch these videos. And I'm also going to tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's jump in and see what are my recommendations for any of the interview if you're appearing for. Okay, so first thing first, have some hands-on experience before you appear for interview. Do not always depend on the terms or the interview questions or videos or all the things. If your interviewer has hands-on experience, he will definitely find out that you have just come in with some theoretical knowledge. So even though it's good to see all these videos and everything, but you should have some hands-on experience, and there are a lot of platforms available where you can do all these things. Okay, second thing, be thorough on your use case. So first thing interviewer will ask you is what work you have done in your current project. So you have to explain what you have done, what is your role, how your application works. So you should be very thorough. If you are already working on it but you have not got chance to understand it end to end, try to understand that before you appear for any of the interview. He does not care that which component you actually work on. He wants to know that how well you understand your own system. Okay. Now, third one is go through tutorial videos as much as possible, because we know that in our day-to-day scenarios or the working projects, you do not get chance to work on anything and everything. However, the place where you are going for interview, he expects that you should have knowledge. If you have not working, if you don't have working knowledge, that is still fine, but you should have at least the knowledge. You should you should have gone through those tutorial videos so that in case something comes up in future, you should be able to take it up. So you have to show that intent that yes, you have that learning ability, and you with very little effort or with little guidance, you can take it up and you can do it. Fourth thing, be honest. Do not try to make stories. Do not try to fake it that you have done something if you have not done it, because interviewer is expert enough, experienced enough to find out that you are lying. Okay, if you do not know something, it is very much okay to say that you don't know it. Okay, it is all right completely. Nobody can know everything. Rather than trying to do a guesswork and give a wrong answer, better say that you have not got a chance to work on it. Now, I know you all are waiting for the interview questions, so I've tried to divide it into multiple sections to broadly categorize those things. So we'll see. So these are topics which we'll try to cover, and if this video goes too long, I will try to split it into two or maybe three, but I will try to cover most of the things which I have come across from my community. So stay with us till the end, and it is not only for those people who are going to appear in interview, it is going to help other people who are actually working on day-to-day projects, and they will also come across multiple different scenarios which they want help for. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so first thing first, again, during interview Azure Data Factory, especially there are some building blocks of Azure Data Factory like pipeline, link services, dataset, how you parameterize it, what are the variables, global parameters, integration runtime. So your first few questions will always revolve around these. You need to be knowing that what is pipeline, what is link service, what is dataset. So if you're already working on this thing, you would definitely know this. If you are very new, let me try to give a small brief of all these things. So what is pipeline? Pipeline is your logical grouping of all the activities which you have stitched together to perform your end goal. Suppose you are going to copy data from Oracle to SQL Server. In between, you might have done many prerequisites. You might have to do some lookup, you have to do filtering, you have to use some if conditions. All those things you'll put together and you'll create a single pipeline. So that is what you will call a pipeline. Now second one, what is a link service? Link service is very important thing. Whenever you are trying to connect to a source or your destination, you need to know how to connect that. So every source or destination will have its own authentication or authorization mechanism. So those details are encapsulated in your link service. Now next, what is dataset? Dataset defines the metadata of your source or the sink. Azure Data Factory wants you to predefine that what kind of data you are going to ingest from your source. So once you have created a link services, you have to tell the dataset. Dataset comes as a second step after link service. Once you have defined the link service, it will ask for a dataset. Suppose you have created a link service of storage account. Suppose data lake Gen 2. Now your data set, when you're going to create a data set, you have to select your link service, and based on that it will tell you which all different kinds of file it supports. So I'm going to show you a link service data set and all this thing once we cover this slide, so stay with us. Now, what is parameter, right? Parameter, as the name suggests, that something which you want to make dynamic, you want to pass from one activity to other, or it can be one pipeline to other pipeline. Those are the places where you use parameters. So that's what you have to tell. This is parameter. What is variable? On top of parameter, Azure Data Factory also provides you a way to define variables for its internal usage. Now the small difference, or the difference between parameter and variable, is that you can pass a parameter from the outside. When you're triggering your pipeline, you can pass a parameter, but you cannot pass a variable, right? Variable you have to define in your pipeline, and within the pipeline you have to set it and you have to use it. So that's the basic difference. Now, what is global parameter? This is a relatively new feature which Azure Data Factory has introduced. Global parameter is something where you have a data factory which has maybe 10 or 20 different pipelines, and the common thing is that you are going ahead and defining same parameter in all the pipelines. To eliminate that need, Azure Data Factory has come up with a global parameter. You can define a parameter at Azure Data Factory level and you can use it across all your pipelines. Now, what is integration runtime? So integration runtime is something which provides Azure Data Factory a compute power, because all the operation, the processing which we are going to do through Azure Data Factory, it needs a compute, and this is where you will be charged. So the more integration uh, runtime time you use for your processing, the more cost it will be. And we'll go to the details of integration runtime, different types of integration runtime, but this is the basic question which can come across. Now let's quickly jump onto Azure Data Factory and see these components working so that you will remember all these things. So this is how your Azure Data Factory looks like. So here, if you see, there is, you can see pipelines, data set, data flows, and templates. So we'll not talk about data flows and template at this moment. See the pipeline and the data set, right? This is what we talked about. So if you have to create a new pipeline, you simply have to go here and say new pipeline, and then you have to define all your activities. And same with the data sets. I'll show you about the link service. So link service, whenever somebody asks any question about the link service, you have to go here, link services, and you can see here all the things which are supported. This is our next category of questions. There will be a lot of questions about the connectivity and the source and destination it supports. So simple thing, if you want to answer that kind of question, you go to your data factory, go to link service, and then see, browse it. There are hundreds and hundreds of different connectors for each different sources and destination. Anything which you see here is supported by Azure Data Factory. Then next we talked about the data set and different file types, right? So once you have created your link service, you go to data set. I have chosen data link service as data lake. So data lake, now you can see which all file formats are supported. Now whatever you see here is supported by data factory. If somebody says, oh, can I copy data from CSV to SQL? Yes, I can. Can I copy data from Excel? Yes. Can I copy data from JSON? Yes. XML, Parquet, ORC, Avro, and this is a growing list. So tomorrow you may come back and find a new one. Then we talked about the parameters. So if you are in the pipeline, you will see options, parameters, variables, and output. This is where you define your parameters, and this is where you define variables. If you want to see your global parameter, it will be shown here in the global parameters. Right now I have not defined anything. Yeah, oh sorry, I have already defined one. So this is a global parameter. This is how you can define it, and this is where you will see all your integration runtimes. Now let's come to our next section, which is dynamic pipeline. So most of the time in bigger enterprises, you will not be creating a data factory or a pipeline which will do only single workflow like from source to destination. You will always be needed to parameterize your pipeline, link service, data set, everything. So if the question is, can we parameterize? Yes, we can parameterize each and everything. And the expectation from you is that you should be aware of all this thing, how to parameterize. So first question is, can we parameterize? As soon as you say yes, he'll ask you how to parameterize. So we have a separate video also in detail how to parameterize your link services, how to parameterize your data sets, everything. You can go through that for a deeper look. But here let me show you very quickly. This is my link service to Azure SQL Server, and now you can see here in the bottom section we have a parameter. So I can define a parameter and I can pass it so that I don't have to hard code my connections. This is one way of parameterizing. So each and every different kind of link service will have different parameters and different parameterization. This is not something which is same across different kinds of link services, so that you need to be aware of. Similarly for dataset, if you go to dataset, connection schema and parameter, you need to go to parameters section. You have to create your parameter and you have to come back to connection and you have to use the parameter. This is how you parameterize your dataset. So many questions will come around parameterization, so be prepared for it. So one question I think we didn't talk about is how to pass parameter from one pipeline to other pipeline. So there is very common practice that you may not be able to achieve everything within one pipeline and you will have to create a child pipeline. And we'll talk about those scenarios also. And there is definitely a way to pass your parameter from one pipeline to other pipeline.